Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 485 based on novel. So let's start. Standing on the stairs, Wang Lin looked down on planet Suzaku below him. This planet had become unfamiliar. The mountains and rivers had changed, it no longer looked like it did in the past. The ground was covered in grass, and as the wind blew, a fragrance filled the air. Interesting, this place looks fun. Look at the mountain there, haha, it's not very good. It's too rough, the mudmen this king makes are better. The madman clapped his hands and laughed. The four people originally had serious expressions as they bowed at the stone statue before them. After hearing the madman's words, the three disciples all looked back with fierce stares and disdain in their eyes. This mountain was connected to the stairs. This mountain was the highest mountain on planet Suzaku, and a powerful spell had been used to shape it into a large statue. It was a cultivator with his left hand forming a seal and his right hand holding a giant axe looking at the sky. The invisible pressure it gave off made it feel like this person was going to fight the heavens. The staircase was connected to the bottom of the statue. As a result, all the cultivators that came to planet Suzaku would immediately see this statue. As they descend, due to the difference in height, the pressure from the statue would become even stronger. It would be as if they were worshipping the statue as they descended. This was a statue of Wang Lin. This was Wang Lin during the first battle at the Cloud Sea. However, the face of this statue was blurry, which made it impossible for others to get a good look. This is a statue of the Lord of the Sealed Realm in the first battle of the Cloud Sea. It was right after he killed the Fire Sparrow clan ancestor and esteemed Nan Zhao. He stood before the Outer Realm army of tens of thousands of cultivators, and none of them dared to take half a step forward. The old man's words echoed, causing his three disciples to turn around and pay their respects. After the first battle, the name of the Lord of the Sealed Realm became famous in the Inner Realm and people found out that he came from planet Suzaku. The cultivators of the Inner Realm gathered, and under the lead of several powerful seniors and the Lord of planet Suzaku, Ju Wuai, the highest mountain was made into a statue of the Lord of the Sealed Realm. The old man's voice echoed. Wang Lin silently looked at the statue and gently shook his head, letting out a sigh. He vaguely remembered that this mountain belonged to the country of Suzaku and was its holy land. However, now it had been changed. This was not the change Wang Lin wanted to see. He stepped forward and took the madman away. It wasn't until they disappeared that one of the men among the three disciples sneered. Such a vulgar person is not fit to come to the Lord of the Sealed Realm's hometown. The two disciples beside him nodded and glared at where Wang Lin and the madman went toward. The two of them are so rude and will surely be punished. I can't wait to see their sorry state when they are forced off the planet. Wang Lin slowly walked through the sky and looked at the earth below. The earth felt even more unfamiliar, which made him even more lonely. Everything other than his heart had changed. However, these changes just made him even more lonely and out of place. Too much has changed. There is no feeling of home. Wang Lin silently pondered and tried very hard to find a trace of familiarity. However, when he looked at the earth, he still couldn't see it. Many of the cultivation countries on planet Suzaku had changed, and now planet Suzaku was just one country. Even the large amount of sects were gone and became the 9 great sects of planet Suzaku. These 9 great sects occupied most of planet Suzaku. As Wang Lin moved forward, he saw the soul refining sect. The memory of Dutian was still there, but the soul refining sect was not the same. The mountain had disappeared and turned into a lake. There were many pavilions around the lake, giving off waves of spiritual energy, but it was another sect. Sichu Nan had awakened here. Those domineering words still echoed in Wang Lin's ears, but he couldn't find any familiar aura. The giant demon clan of the past appeared in Wang Lin's eyes, and it had also changed. The area where the giant demon clan was located was now a prairie. There were many nomadic mortals on his prairie, dressed in simple clothes or topless. They walked among a flock of sheep while singing cheerful songs. There were a few dogs among the flock of sheep that barked excitedly. The barking mixed with the singing and didn't seem out of place. Instead, it gave the song a leisure feeling. This place also changed. Wang Lin felt melancholy and slowly moved forward. The madman followed Wang Lin and was silent. He could feel the loneliness from Wang Lin, and he also felt homesick. After a long time, the country of Shuiyu appeared before Wang Lin. The snow-covered land was no longer there. That snow had melted a long time ago. This place had become a dense jungle and no longer looked anything like it did in the past. Even the cities had been turned into ruins by the jungle. What was also buried was that special mortal city that chronicled nearly 100 years of Wang Lin's life. A mortal child named Seng Nio had grown up there. Looking at the jungle below, Wang Lin's heart felt terrible. It was an indescribable feeling. He vaguely felt like this was no longer his home. He couldn't find any familiarity on planet Suzaku. Without that sense of familiarity, he only had memories. It was like a traveler that had left for a long time and finally returned home only to find that everything had changed. It was unfamiliar to the point that it made him want to cry. It was unfamiliar to the point that it made him sad. It was unfamiliar to the point that he couldn't find his way home. Wang Lin had returned to planet Suzaku before and had seen changes, but they weren't as drastic as now. He couldn't adapt at all. He didn't dare to spread out his divine sense to see the entire planet at once, to see the country of Zhao and his parents' tomb. He was afraid that he would continue to see unfamiliarity, leaving him with only memories but no home. He was also equally afraid to look at the cave in the Sea of Devils where he had lived with Li Muwen. He was afraid to look for that heartwarming valley. He was afraid that those were gone as well. Looking at the jungle below, Wang Lin silently walked in as if he was looking for something. Eventually, he removed the leaves before him and saw the ruins of a city. A few small beasts were moving between the ruined buildings inside the city. When Wang Lin arrived, the small beasts were frightened and all scattered. Wang Lin walked within the ruins of the city and looked for something. He faintly felt a hint of familiarity and almost grasped that sense of familiarity. However, a moment later, that sense of familiarity faded as he looked at a giant hole before him. It was this hole that buried his sense of familiarity and the street he used to live on. After being startled there for a long time, Wang Lin let out a sigh and left. He went to the Sea of Devils. The entire Sea of Devils was no longer there. Back then, although the fog had dissipated, the giant basin remained. Now someone had filled the basin and it was one of the 9 great sects. The cave he lived in with Li Muwen was naturally gone. Wang Lin looked at it from the sky and he felt his heart sting. He wanted to look at the cave, to look at the body of the huge dragon, to look at the place where Li Muwen put her heart and soul into making that jade. He sadly turned around. Unconsciously, Wang Lin arrived in the valley where he accompanied Li Muwen until she grew old and where he felt warmth. That was also where Ju Wuai had grown up. However, even this place had been flattened and turned into an inner sea. It was beautiful, but it was just painful for Wang Lin. This place is also gone. The various changes on planet Suzaku made it much more beautiful, but it was only on the surface. This was not the planet Suzaku that Wang Lin wanted. Others only knew that this was the hometown of the Lord of the Sealed Realm and wanted to transform this place into a holy land. However, they didn't understand that this holy land was hollow. Was it really what Wang Lin wanted? All of this was just dust on the outside. Wang Lin was not one to care about his personal prestige and fame. He was just an ordinary person, and even as a cultivator he was just a little cultivator. He only wanted a home, a hometown where he could calmly recall the past. He just wanted a trace of familiarity that would allow him to feel warmth after more than 2,000 years of cruel cultivation. Just a trace of warmth. However, the warmth had become a luxury. He wanted to find it, but along the way, he hadn't found any. Wang Lin turned around and looked at the confused madman as he whispered, "Why is it like this?" The madman gave a silly smile. "This king, this is quite pretty, he. Wang Lin silently pondered and looked at the sky. After a long time, he let out a sigh and stepped forward. He left with the madman to go the place he was afraid to look at the most, his real home. The old country of Zhao. Wang Lin looked at the country of Zhao from above and his eyes became blurry. This place didn't change. He was the lord of the sealed realm, but at this moment, he was just someone who had returned to his hometown. He was an old man looking for trace of the past. Below him was the country of Zhao, and the old man and his 3 disciples had already arrived here. This is where the lord of the sealed realm grew up, the old voice slowly echoed. The old man pointed at the country of Zhao and said to his disciples, "The lord of the sealed realm grew up here. It is called the country of Zhao. This is the real holy land of planet Suzaku." Before the 4 of them, there was a flash of light around the border of the country of Zhao. This light surrounded the country of Zhao, forming a formation. The role of this formation was to prevent outsiders from going in. All of planet Suzaku and its 9 major sects can be visited as long as you present a token. This is the only place that foreign cultivators are not allowed to enter. This was the most resolute request that Ju Wuai, the leader of planet Suzaku, had when planet Suzaku was being transformed. Anywhere else can be changed, but not a blade of grass can be changed in the country of Zhao. The old man stood outside the light curtain and his voice was very calm. His 3 disciples looked at the country of Zhao with respect in their eyes. They looked at the faintly visible peaks and clasped their hands at the country of Zhao. Anyone who doesn't abide by the agreement and enters the country of Zhao is severely punished. The old man's eyes lit up as he spoke and looked into the distance at Wang Lin and the madman. His 3 disciples were startled for a moment and looked over at Wang Lin. They glared angrily and sneered. Although planet Suzaku is not big, we always seem to see annoying people. Those 2 are so vulgar, they are really an eyesore. The madman also saw the 4 of them, and he immediately became excited. He began to happily yell at the 4 of them. "Little girls, we meet again, ahaha. It looks like we are fated with each other. For our connected fate, come, this king has rewards." Wang Lin seemed to not hear the madman's roar as he silently looked at the country of Zhao. His vision became blurry and a burst of sadness appeared in his heart. The unspeakable mood made him walk closer and he gradually closed in on the light around the country of Zhao. The old man's 3 disciples were all filled with anger by the madman's words. If not for the fact that their teacher was present, they would have gone up and taught the madman a lesson. The old man frowned and was about to speak when his eyes narrowed as he looked at Wang Lin. He saw Wang Lin get closer and closer to the formation as if he was going to break it. His expression sank and the old man no longer paid attention to the madman. He stepped toward Wang Lin and said with a grave tone, "Fellow cultivator, the country of Zhao, home to Lord of the Sealed Realm, is not a place outsiders like us can enter. I hope you can control yourself." The old man's words were like roaring thunder and shook the surrounding area, scaring the madman. The madman stared at the old man and began to roar. "Damn it, you scared this king. You have to repay me, you scared me." Wang Lin turned a deaf ear. There was no light formation in his eyes. The only thing he felt was the familiar feeling from the country of Zhao. This feeling became more and more clear, making him remember everything. With one step, he closed in on the light formation and immediately caused ripples to spread out. It was as if a giant vortex had appeared before Wang Lin. The vortex became more and more intense until the ripples spread across the entire formation around the country of Zhao. "Fellow cultivator, stop!" The expression of the old man changed and he charged at Wang Lin without thinking. He tried to stop Wang Lin. In his eyes, Wang Lin's action had already offended the hometown of the Lord of the Sealed Realm and he would need to be severely punished. Since he saw it, he had to stop it. However, he was a bit too slow. A breath before he closed in, the vortex before Wang Lin formed. It was as if 2 invisible hands were gently opening up a hole in the formation. Wang Lin's body didn't pause at all this entire time. He entered the country of Zhao from that gap with melancholy and homesickness in his heart. He wanted to find that familiar feeling once more. He stepped onto the land he was familiar with. There was a flash of coldness in the old man's eyes and he hesitated for a moment. He then let out a cold snort and chased through the gap. "What great courage! You dare to break open the formation of Zhao and enter?" You have already brought a big disaster upon yourself. It won't be long before someone comes to punish you. Since this old man has witnessed it, I won't let you offend the Lord of the Sealed Realm like this. The old man stepped into the gap and chased after Wang Lin. The moment the formation was opened by Wang Lin, all the powerful cultivators on planet Suzaku noticed. Their expressions changed, they were angry and gloomy. Who dares to break into the Lord of the Sealed Realm's hometown? He's courting death. This old man wants to see who has the guts to break the formation around the country of Jiao. Rays of light flew out from all directions on planet Suzaku and flew toward the country of Jiao. At the same time, 9 powerful auras flew out from the 9 great sects and rushed toward the country of Jiao. Breaking open the formation around the country of Jiao and entering by force was a great matter for planet Suzaku. It was an unforgivable offense to the Lord of the Sealed Realm, so that person had to be punished. Outside the formation, the old man's 3 disciples were in a daze. They had seen the gap open in the formation and Wang Lin entering. Then their teacher had chased him in, and they didn't know what to do for a moment. Instead, it was the madman who clapped and his eyes became filled with excitement. He roared and charged toward the gap. Ha ha, so fun, so fun. The madman's body flashed and he stepped into the gap with a flash of gold light. The old man's 3 disciples hesitated for a bit. They looked at each other before clenching their teeth and charging in. Wang Lin looked at the familiar mountains and rivers below him. He looked at the Hangyu mountain in the distance. He looked at the pavilion on the mountaintop from 2,000 years ago. The more he looked, the more familiar everything became. Hangyu sect, bitterness appeared on Wang Lin's face and he gently took a step forward. Ripples appeared under his feet and he disappeared. The moment he disappeared, the old man caught up. His expression was gloomy and his pupils shrank. Spatial bending. I already can't see through his cultivation, I didn't expect him to know spatial bending. However, this is the home of the Lord of the Sealed Realm, and there are many powerful cultivators stationed here. Even though his cultivation level is high, he can't escape punishment. The old man's eyes lit up and his divine sense spread out. Ripples appeared under his feet and he also used spatial bending. There was a mountain village outside the jungle below the Hangyu mountain. This mountain village had already changed into a city. This city's name was changed to Emperor Ancestor City. Wang Lin already knew this when he came here before. However, inside this city, there was an old house that seemed to remain eternally the same. This old house was Wang Lin's old home. There was a large courtyard around his old home. There was an old grave rebuilt by later descendants. It seemed to be waiting for the wandering son to return home. There was no one inside the old house, and the surroundings were extremely quiet. Under this silence, Wang Lin's figure silently appeared inside the courtyard, before the grave. He looked grave and tears silently flowed down his cheeks. Wang Lin shed tears and knelt down before the grave. The memories of his childhood didn't appear in his mind like in the past. At this moment, he was filled with exhaustion, and tears continued to flow before his parents' tomb. As he looked at the grave, sorrow filled his mind, but he was calm. It was as if only here did his heart belong to himself and could finally rest. Everything here didn't change, everything here was the same as in the past. Here was his real home. He raised his trembling right hand and touched the tomb. Feeling the names carved into the tomb, more tears flowed from Wang Lin's eyes. Hadn't he returned to planet Suzaku to pay his respects to his parents' tomb? Hadn't he returned to planet Suzaku to see his parents once more? Hadn't he returned to planet Suzaku because his parents were buried here? Planet Suzaku carried half of Wang Lin's memories and his memories of his parents, his everything. Whenever he became tired, he would look at the sky and dream of planet Suzaku. Leaves have roots. When they fall, they return to their roots. Humans have souls, and the soul feels sorrow when remembering one's parents. I can give up everything. As long as you all are alive. Let me, Wana, and Pinga reunite. I can give up everything. It had been a long time since Wang Lin last cried like this. He really missed his parents, his heart ached as he recalled his parents. His painful cry lingered in this quiet world. All people have parents. The sadness of losing both parents seems to slowly dissipate as time passes. However, in truth, it is buried deep within your bones. Who can forget? As one gets older and older, the feeling of grief gets buried deeper and deeper. Once it is released, that sadness is heaven-shaking. Humans have emotions, that's why they are called humans. You dare to charge into the Lord of the Sealed Realm's house. Just at this moment, ripples echoed across the sky and an elder stepped out. His expression was gloomy and his eyes were filled with anger. He respected the Lord of the Sealed Realm, so he wouldn't allow someone to invade the Lord of the Sealed Realm's hometown. He chased over and immediately saw Wang Lin kneeling before the tomb. He saw the tears on Wang Lin's face and heard those sad words. He immediately swallowed his words. He was startled and body trembled. His mind went blank and a thunderous rumble echoed in his mind. He knew what place this was and he knew who was buried here. He knew that there was only one person qualified to kneel there and cry like this. He also heard the person kneeling before the tomb mutter something. His body trembled and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Father, mother. Taizu came back to see you. Wang Lin touched the tombstone. It was as if his parents were standing before him. Their kind gazes seemed to penetrate time itself, reaching here from 2,000 years ago. Wang Lin seemed to not notice the old man's arrival. He touched the tombstone and knelt before it. The tombstone was very cold and bursts of coldness came from his hands. However, that turned into warmth in his mind. Tears flowed down from his cheeks and fell on the grave. They slowly soaked into the tomb and seemed to fall on his parents. The coldness from his hands, the warmth in his heart, and the tears that fell on the grave seemed to cause Wang Lin and his parents' grave to fuse into one. This fusion gave off an unspeakable mood. The old man in the sky was in a daze. His mind rumbled as if countless bolts of thunder were exploding inside him. His body trembled and he had a guess in his mind. This guess made his eyes filled with excitement. Only one person had the qualifications to kneel before this grave, to cry like this before this grave, and to call out, Father and Mother, before this grave. That was the Lord of the Sealed Realm. A faint and gentle light seemed to release from Wang Lin's body and shroud the tombstone. As he knelt there, his tears continued to fall. With a sad expression, he looked at his parents' names on the tombstone. However, when the old man looked over, he took a deep breath. He didn't know if he was hallucinating, but the shadow of a woman appeared on the left of Wang Lin. This figure was very weak, as if it would dissipate from a gentle breeze. She had long hair, but it was impossible to clearly see her appearance. However, her body gave off the same sense of sadness. She silently stood beside Wang Lin, looking at the tomb, and also knelt down. From afar, the shadow of the woman and Wang Lin looked like a husband and wife paying respects before their parents' tomb. In the blink of an eye, another shadow appeared on the right of Wang Lin. This was the figure of a young man about 20 years old who looked very similar to Wang Lin. At this moment, a third shadow appeared, this time it was a woman. They looked at the grave with sad expressions and knelt down as well. This was like a family of four paying their respects. While heartwarming, an inexplicable bitterness spread in the old man's mind. Just at this moment, howls echoed across the sky. The madman closed in while laughing, and the old man's 3 disciples pursued closely. Everyone immediately arrived before this old house. The old man's 3 disciples closed in while shouting, but their teacher immediately brought them to his side. He stared at them and they immediately stopped shouting. They lowered their heads and looked at Wang Lin, who was kneeling before the grave. The madman ran for a long distance, but when he looked back to see no one chasing, he scratched his head. He landed in the old house and saw Wang Lin kneeling not far away. He circled around Wang Lin a few times and faintly saw the 3 figures beside Wang Lin. Wang Lin turned a deaf ear to all of this. He silently sat there, touching the tombstone as if he was his parents' old faces. At this moment, the sky became dark. As the sun gradually fell, the formation around Zhao flickered violently. Seeing that someone had entered the formation around Zhao, the powerful cultivators stationed on planet Suzaku all rushed over. More than 10 rays of light entered the formation, and they seemed to notice Wang Lin. Rays of light flew across the dark sky and a lot of cultivators appeared. They all stared at Wang Lin, who was kneeling before the grave. Some of them were native cultivators of planet Suzaku who had seen Wang Lin before, so when they saw the kneeling Wang Lin, they immediately recognized him. Lord of the Sealed Realm? Wang Lin! Exclamations came from the mouths of the cultivators that recognized Wang Lin. This caused a commotion that was like a storm among the cultivators that came. Shock and disbelief filled them, along with excitement. The old man's 3 disciples were gobsmacked. They could have never expected the person that had come with the madman, the person they had called vulgar, to be the Lord of the Sealed Realm. At this moment, their minds were blank. They had forgotten how to think and were just standing there in a daze. In the distance, the sky lit up and a red cloud rushed over. In the blink of an eye, it closed in and a person walked out. He was an old man wearing a red robe. His face was pale, but he gave off a sense of majesty without being angry. One could faintly see Ju Wuai's features on his old face. This old man was the Lord of Planet Suzaku, Ju Wuai. He looked at the kneeling Wang Lin and his expression became melancholy. He silently stood there for a long time and then softly said one line before all the silent cultivators. "You've returned." Wang Lin didn't raise his head, he continued to look at the tomb. A moment later, he said, "I've returned." Ju Wuai was old and his body gave off a sense of age. With a step, he arrived beside Wang Lin and bowed at the grave. "All of you, leave and give us some quiet time." Ju Wuai looked up at the people above. Although there were a lot of cultivators with higher cultivation levels, Ju Wuai was the Lord of Planet Suzaku. His identity was highly regarded and his words had more impact than his cultivation level would indicate. The more than a dozen cultivators silently suppressed their excitement. They bowed at Wang Lin and then at the grave before respectfully leaving. Many of them didn't belong to Planet Suzaku. They had come from other places and volunteered to guard Planet Suzaku to pay respects to the Lord of the Sealed Realm. The old man also left with his 3 disciples that were still shocked from disbelief. In a flash, only Wang Lin, Ju Wuai, and the madman were left in this old house. A moment later, the madman felt that it was a bit boring, so he walked to the side. He leaned against a wall, closed his eyes, and began to sleep. Ju Wuai silently pondered for a moment and then sat down beside Wang Lin. He waved his right hand, took out 2 jugs of wine, and put them down. He looked at the grave and softly asked, "How long do you plan to stay?" Wang Lin raised his hand that was touching the tombstone and silently sat down on the ground. The 3 phantoms around him slowly dissipated. "It won't be long." Wang Lin picked up one of the wine jugs and took a sip. The wine had a taste he was familiar with, as if he had returned to more than 1,000 years ago. Ju Wuai softly said, "This is the Seng family's wine. I saved a lot from back then to drink with you again." Ju Wuai picked up the jug and took a sip. He looked up at the sky and slowly said, "I took that child from the Seng family as my disciple. If he knew you would come back, he would be very happy." Wang Lin silently pondered and Seng Nio's child appeared in his mind. That child with pretty good talent. Wang Lin looked at his parents' grave and softly said, "Thanks." "What is there to thank? My position as Lord of Planet Suzaku is something you gave me. Yet I can't stop them from entering Planet Suzaku. After you became the Lord of the Sealed Realm, a lot of people came. They came with good intentions to make this place a holy land. I can only keep this country of Zhao," Ju Wuai said bitterly and then took a big sip. "I know you are one who is nostalgic. Perhaps this place has changed too much and it makes you feel estranged." Ju Wuai sighed. Wang Lin didn't speak and drank the entire jug. Then Ju Wuai took out a few more jugs and placed them before Wang Lin. The sky slowly darkened and moonlight shrouded the earth. While gentle, it contained silvers of coldness. The 2 of them sat under the moonlight and drank wine. They sat in Wang Lin's old home and spoke of the past. The Tattoo clan's Yuncase's lifespan reached its end. I buried him. Before he died, he kept saying your name. The Cloud Sky is now one of the 9 major sects, but all the old faces are now gone. The planet Suzaku today, forget you, even I feel it has become unfamiliar. Very few people from the past remain. Ju Wuai drank wine and his eyes recalled the past. Do you still remember the country of who phones Ju's home? I only learned later that you knew her. She left with her mother, Phone Won, many years ago. I heard that they entered a sect in the Summoned River. Ju Zhehome's Dao partner died in a great battle a few years ago. Wang Lin listened to Ju Wuai's words and silently drank wine. One jug after another. Wang Lin, in truth, I envy you. The moonlight became even stronger. The bright moon hung high in the sky. Ju Wuai seemed a bit drunk, perhaps it wasn't his body that was drunk, but his soul. You dared to walk out of planet Suzaku and dared to struggle between life and death. I wouldn't dare, I can only guard here. Ju Wuai's face was filled with bitterness. I've guarded for more than 1,000 years. I can never forget your figure as you left planet Suzaku after appointing me Lord of planet Suzaku. Back then, I envied you, but not as strongly as today. Remember that disciple of mine? Ju Wuai took a large gulp and sadness appeared in his eyes. He has been dead for many years. He was part of my domain. I promised him I would accompany him until he died. I buried him on planet Suzaku. Every time I wanted to leave planet Suzaku, I would go to him and silently drink before his grave. Ju Wuai lowered his head. My disciple really loved his home, he didn't want to leave his hometown. Wang Lin didn't speak. He drank the same family's wine with Ju Wuai until the moon disappeared. Until the sky turned white and the sun began to rise. Wang Lin, Red Butterfly may not be dead. Ju Wuai, whose soul was drunk, said this at the moment of dawn. This video will end here.